the City podcast.
And we are back, another edition of Keys to the City. I am your host, Trevor Keys, alongside the big brother, Ted Keys, and the Joseph Aguirre. What a show we got for you today. Talking about Game 3, as I like to call it, Ted, the step-up game. Why am I calling it that? Because there's a lot of players that need to step up in this NBA Finals. Plus, we'll start talking some NFL. To pay your quarterbacks early, we've talked about this multiple occasions in the past couple of years, but we're back to this question. Is it time to pay these young quarterbacks, or do they want to play the waiting game and kind of set yourselves back and trying to, give up a lot of money to those young, great quarterbacks? But we have the Joseph Aguirre here because, we love talking New York Yankees baseball. And what a season it has been so far. The first team to 40 wins this year, 40-15 currently. And I just had a quick stat. So they started 38-15. It was the best 53-game start in the past, 40 or 50 years. The only teams that have done it before were the 2016 Cubs, won a World Series, and the 2020 LA Dodgers, won a World Series. So if that says anything, it could be a sign of things to come for the New York Yankees. But guys, you look at this team. Hold on. You look at this team overall, and the way they've been doing it all. They've been hitting well. They've been pitching well. Lights out from the rotation. Lights out from the bullpen. Even the managing has been, we haven't really had many complaints. So, Ted, I'll start with you on this. To you, what is the biggest contributor to the New York Yankees' early season success? I know it's over 50 games, but still, you still got over 100 games left. So to you, Ted, what do you think is the biggest contributor?
It's the starting pitching and the health of the starting pitching. I meant to send you this article from the fangraphs.com. They did a huge thing on the Yankees because they were talking about the Yankees. And you were right. Best record through 55 games. I mean, only the 2001 Mariners were 42-12, and then that 98 Yankees team was 41-13. I know that's 54 games. I didn't get the 50. The article was written on June 6th.
They probably won.
They probably won. But Trev, I don't want to scream numbers, but I wrote it down. I want to make sure I say it properly, so I'm educated when I say it.
Just go on with it. Go on with it.
Listen, well, I know how you like to jump.
You don't need to say that you're. Just go with it.
Are you going to start with me already? We're not even.
Just say it.
Here we go. So I'm not including last night's game for the Twins last night, even though we won again by 10-4. Talion only pitched 5 innings, but dominant on the offense. But it's the starting pitching. It's the health of the starting pitching. Last 15 games for the New York starters, they have thrown at least 6 innings in 14 of the 15 games. That's something we've always talked about. It was always just get to 5 and the bullpen take care of it. But the starters are eating up more innings, which makes the bullpen more efficient, especially with guys like Chapman, Britton, Chad Green, all out on the IL right now, right? The exception being a scoreless 5-inning start call up by J.P. Spears, the first start of his career. We know about that. 4 times in that span, the Yankees have gone at least 8 innings, and 6 other times they've gone at least 7. Over that stretch, the starters have a 1.15 ERA. I'm not going to give the other stuff. Strikeout rate at 25% and held opposing hitters to a 158 batting average, 205 slugging, and 234 on base percentage. They're dominating the pitching, and it's similar to what the game is in football. Defense dominates, even though offense gets all the publicity. But we saw it in the Super Bowl. The Rams defense was so dominant. They were able to control the ball game. They won championship. This Yankee pitching staff, I want to go back about a year ago, right? We knew we had Cole, right? But Severino was out, all right? We didn't have Nestor Cortez at that time. Jordan Montgomery, Tejon, they were all new guys coming off injuries. And, listen, we had Corey Kluber had not pitched in over a year, right? So you got guys who had really – they were coming off of either injury concerns and where they're on one-year deals, or we had guys who didn't have a full season under their belt. Now you have guys like Cole, and I'm going to use him as an exemption because we know what he's about. But now you got a guy like Cortez who's dominating baseball right now. He's got the best ERA in baseball. And he's been doing this more than just the last 4 months. It's been since last year. Tejon has been pitching much better. He's gotten off of the sliders, come more to a heavy sinker. Him and Montgomery have been much more dominant. They've been more consistent. And Joe has talked about this last year when the Yankees, he was like, if we get Severino back, that's your backup ace. Right then and there, you're going to get him for the stretch run. And he's pitching like the guy that we saw 3-4 years ago. For me, we always knew the offense was good enough. It wasn't never about the offense, right? We expect them to score runs. They lead the league in home runs. but it's the starting pitching. Their consistency every night to get 6, 5, 6, 7 innings, dominant baseball, less than 3 runs. It just makes everything about them great. And the health of the starting pitchers is, for me personally, what's been dominant. I can give you a bunch of other numbers where they got the lowest walk rate in baseball. Their home run rate is 0.79 per 9 innings. And I mean, the strikeout to walk ratio is also tops in the league. These are all significant things that they have not had or experienced in the past 3 or 4 seasons.
Joe, what do you think?
So let me point out in game 1 here against the Twins, 3 errors in the game. They've been super tight on defense, but we're again able to overcome not only bad defense, but bad starting pitching last night, which is, Teddy just said, hasn't been the case all year. You expect that. That's going to happen throughout the year. It's good to see that this team can find ways to win. 6 walk-off wins, which leads baseball. Again, another sign of the right direction.
Yep.
I'm gonna just slightly disagree with Ted because the starting pitching clearly is key here. Nestor Cortez, the biggest surprise of baseball. For me, the rest of this rotation is doing what they're capable of. In his last 8 starts, Garrett Cole's got a 2.03 ERA. After a rough start, 6.55 ERA, his first 3 starts, he's on track.
Yeah.
Luis Severino's obviously building
Lights
up
out. He's been
endurance.
lights out. Though.
He's, and again, I've been saying for years, when he's healthy, there's no reason to think he won't be one of the studs of the game, and he is. Jameson Taillon,
Yeah.
right, minus that start last night. Taillon leads baseball with the 6 wins. He's been outstanding, and you saw Jordan Montgomery, the evolution there. So a lot of what's happening with the starting rotation, you could almost say, to be expected. Yeah. Pleasant surprise. Everyone's been perfect, and the health has been insane.
Yeah, but
let's
don't
talk
you
about
how consistent they have been? Like,
listen, of course,
perfect games.
Of course, it's insane. They've been great. Again, I'm just going to disagree with you because we got to talk about some other people. Let me put it to you like that instead.
I got something for you though too.
That starting pitching has been great, but let's talk about Clay Holmes, who's got a 0.90 ERA since he became a New York Yankee at the trade deadline last year, an 0.34 ERA this year. He's been absolutely outstanding. You look at the Yankees, and we talk about how healthy they are, but if you look at the disabled list, it's actually filled with guys in the bullpen. It's Chapman, it's Britton, it's Jonathan Loaizaga,
Steele, Chad Green. I mean, Britton. I mean, you can go on and on. These are guys that have carried us the past 3 or 4 seasons.
It doesn't matter who they seem to throw in that bullpen these days. Everybody seems to get it done. So they've been outstanding. Now, here's the other thing. Look, the offense is what it is, and they've, again, been able to win the close games. They've been able to blow people out. But let's talk about Aaron Judge for a minute. In his last 40 games, which coincides with this ridiculous run these guys have been on, he's hitting .333 with 21 homers and 43 RBI.
It's pretty good.
Aaron Judge, I mean, tell me I'm wrong. He seems to put the Yankees up 1-0 all the time.
Seems like in the early innings too.
It's
like right off the bat, Joe. It's like 1-0 because, like I said, we don't get. I don't really get to see the Yankees a lot. I have to go on certain websites to go find them because I don't have Yes Network. So I get a lot of texts. I get a lot of updates from Ted. I get a lot of updates from social media. And you always just see like one of the first highlights is like, oh, an Aaron Judge Oppo home run, or Aaron Judge a liner down the line or something like that. It's just like he's just always getting on base and he's just hitting the crap out of the ball and well deserving of this contract. I know it's cliche what I'm going to say, but I can't decipher which is the biggest contributor because the hitting has been lights out, even with some of the injuries. They've been clutch hitting. They've won by, like we said, blowouts. The pitching, as we know, this starting 5 rotation has a win-loss record right now of 21-5. All their guys have 1 loss right now. Taillon has 6 wins. Cole has 6 wins. Cortez has 7.
Montgomery should have like 6 wins.
I was going to say Montgomery should have 5 at this point.
Severino has 4 or 5, and then Montgomery is 1-1. But my thing is you look at those 4 guys. Those 4 guys right now, maybe with the exception of Justin Verlander, has a golden opportunity to start the All-Star game. And we're looking at possibly 4 or 5 guys from the Yankees starting rotation And then you look at their bullpen. I mean, Michael King has been lights out, 2.9 ERA. And then Clay Holmes, well, he could be the ultimate definition of lights out because he's literally been a 0.34
Not bad pickup for
ERA.
Pittsburgh.
And that's the thing also is that the pitching in the bullpen has been so great. But this offense, they got a plus 108 run differential right now. They're only second behind the LA Dodgers. They're 23-7 at home. They are 17-8 on the road. And they're the first team in 40 wins. So I can't really decipher, guys. And another fact, their pitching staff the last 11 games, only 16 runs. Now, I know they haven't played the greatest competition, but still, you're playing a professional team. Anytime you could shut down an offense, doesn't matter who you're playing, you're doing something right. And I really can't sit here, guys, and say, well, it's the bullpen. Oh, you could say the starting rotation. Oh, you could say that Aaron Judge, you have the MVP of the entire baseball world right now. You can't really pick between any of those top options.
Well, you definitely can pick the starting rotation over the bullpen.
Also, hold. I got one more stat. They have the lowest ERA currently right now with a 2.55 ERA. And interesting stat, the second most innings pitched per start, 5.2 currently in baseball. So the Yankees are doing it all right. They're not like that's the thing. Their starting rotation has been delivering where you don't need to kind of tire out the bullpen.
Can I add something to that?
And then your offense is just carrying it within the first. You're up already 3-4 runs in the first inning with the way this team's been pitching. You can almost just say, "Hey, chalk up another W in the win-loss column."
Well, if I can add something to that, Joe has spoke about this, I know, in the past couple of years with a lot of the injuries, but consistency, the lineup consistency, right? Like we don't have 5 different lineups. We know who's going up at bat. Like DJ last night, back to the leadoff spot, 3 for 3 last night. Gets on base, Judge, boom, home run. Stands back in the lineup. We know what he provides.
That's what I'm saying. There's no true contributor. It's a
we
whole
know, and
group
listen,
thing.
and also, well, and I would say this, like Joe has talked about, and then I just want to add one stuff, and I'll let Joe finish. Joe has always talked about the lineup, like knowing when you come in at baseball 1 o'clock in the afternoon for the light o'clock game, you know you're batting 5th in the lineup. You know you're playing third base. It's not like, well, I don't, because I think everyone now knows their role. I really think if they were not knowing where their role was at, the team would not be playing as well. And I think they're gelling because Glaber's like, okay, I know I'm going to be a spot starter 3 days a week. I'm going to be mixing in DJs at short and second, whatever. You know, DJ's good. Everyone's rest. Everyone's healthy. But here's the last thing, and this is fun because we have, Trev, personally for me, this is fun to say because you and me we're on the opposite, even though I really like them. It's the Gary Sanchez thing. It's worth noting that the rotation's improvement owes something to its defense. Starting catcher Jose Trevino, whose 3.6 framing runs ranks second in the majors and is well ahead of his predecessor, Gary Sanchez, who was negative 2.5. The team's 4.6 framing runs is tied with the Major League, and where last year's it was 12th in Major League. And here's the other thing that adds to it, and this is I think another thing that I think we never really took into the offseason, but remaking the infield of Anthony Rizzo, Josh Donaldson, and Kiner Falefa, the team owns an AL best 7.724 defensive efficiency, up from last year's 698, with his 4th in the majors in runs saved 25, miles ahead of last year's when the Yankees were the second to last team in the majors at negative 41. Remember how many times last year when we were doing this show, we were screaming about how many errors and mistakes the Yankees were making on the base paths? I don't remember. I haven't seen.
I think this year we've
the same mistakes like taking stupid extra bases, getting caught stealing, doing things that were unprofessional.
That's the thing. When we've been talking about the Yankees since the season's been started, the only time I can really recall that we've talked kind of badly about them. It was kind of more just was actually more not even towards the Yankees, but it was just more around the whole view of baseball with just not hitting. Now the league is still struggling with that, but the Yankees have figured it out, and they're light years away from what they started with. Joe, take it away. Finish up on the New York Yankees.
Well, I'm glad you brought up Anthony Rizzo. If his batting average wasn't so poor, I think he'd be getting a lot more attention.
What's he batting? 213?
He's actually hitting 213, and don't look now, but Aaron Hicks, after 2 hits last night, is hitting 223 with a 351 on base percentage, which is actually 3rd best on the Yankees. 2 hits from Joey Gallo last night. He's at 186. Let's talk about Matt Carpenter, because I got into an argument with a bunch of people on Yankee groups on Facebook who were like, he's washed up. And I'm like, do you think the Yankees would have brought him up If he hadn't done work in the offseason to get himself out of the
That's
gutter,
just another DJ LeMahieu to have, another utility guy.
No,
we can
I
put
look
him
at
in
it,
a
Jeff,
lot
I
of
look at it-
positions. He's had the experience before in the postseason. He can deliver over you with a big hit, have some pop.
Play multiple positions, veteran guy.
Exactly. He's
hey,
a
that
DJ
at
LeMahieu.
bat against Otani the other day, man. Oh boy, did that set the tone
Joe, doesn't it
for the rest
remind you?
of that game.
Here's the thing. It's funny. When the Yankees are bad, we always bash Cashman. Didn't make the moves. Didn't do this, right? And the Clay Holmes move last year. Underrated move. Didn't think about it. We're like, Pittsburgh, what the hell did he do? And he comes over, and he's been phenomenal since they brought him over. And then you look at a guy like this guy, like Matt Carpenter. You can see this guy having – it'll be playoff time, late September, October. He'll have a key at bat. He'll work the run. He'll work the at bat. He'll get a walk. He'll make a defensive play in the infield. He's just one of those guys where you're going like, man, he's going to be one of those Yankee guys. You're like, key contributor. And when I think of that, I think of one of those 90s teams where they're picking up like a guy like Tim Raines late in the season, or a Cecil, or someone that is you don't think about now, but later in the season there's going to be a significant game, and you're going to be like, man, that was a great pickup at that time.
Well, we all said something. So Ted thinks it's the pitching staff. I think it's everything. I mean, there's just not a weakness right now for me to say anything bad about the Yankees. And Joe, what was for Joe's? What was it? Was it the hitting?
Joe was offense. Aaron Judge.
Oh, we all, like I said,
Wait,
we all picked something.
Can I do one more thing?
Finish up. Take it up.
Let's talk about Jose Trevino. He cannot hit on the road. He's got a 189 batting average, but at Yankee Stadium, dude's hitting 354 with 3 homers and 11 RBI. He's been great. Him taking over the starting catching role again. You look at the tear Aaron Judge has been on. It also coincides with Trevino basically becoming the everyday guy.
All in all, to be honest, we're just happy Yankee fans right now. I mean, they're playing well, and there's not really a glaring weakness on this team. They're delivering. They're hitting the crap out of the ball. The pitching's been lights out, and the bullpen has, well, let's be honest,
7 straight wins again. They're on
it's
a
gotten
roll.
back. It's gotten back to looking like that dominant bullpen. Also, the New York Mets still continue to win right now, the best baseball record in the NL. So, like I said last week, something special is brewing in New York sports. The Yankees are winning. The Mets are winning. Let's see what the New York Rangers can do. But right now, Yankee fans and Met fans, be excited.
I'm going to scold you for one thing that you said. You talked about the competition that the Yankees are playing. I mean, they've been destroying the best teams in the Central
They've
Division.
been taking care of business. They've been taking care
because
of
look, the knock on the Yankees is that their schedule's been easy. And it's like, dude, we're 50 games in though.
Yeah,
we're like a third of the way
right?
through the season.
It's not even like 20. It's not even like 20
up
or like
on an easy schedule. It's like, no, they're beating the bejesus out of everybody. They're playing righties, lefties, day games, night games, home, road. It doesn't matter where these Yankees are. And I think it's important to note, look around the rest of the league. There are a ton of underperforming players and teams, and it just goes to show how much better right now the Yankees are than everybody else. The talent on the Yankees, you look at the Mets, you look at the really talented teams where you know the guys, you shouldn't be surprised where most of these teams are sitting right now. The Angels, by the way, suck. Let's just put it out there. Mike Trout is the most overrated person who's ever existed in any sort of competition. I'm going to put it out there. They're terrible. And it's all his fault. And now he's hurt again. Did you see that?
No, I did not see that.
By the way, anybody who puts out an MVP list right now, if Aaron Judge isn't your American League, you should have your credentials taken away because you're a moron.
Joe, I saw that, Trevor, and I know you said that. I saw that on the MLB.com. They were doing the 1/3 poll of like they still had Verlander, the Cy Young, and they still had Trout number 1. And I'm like, they're like after he had an awesome May, and I'm like, did any of you guys see what Aaron Judge has done since like middle of April to now? I don't know what they're talking about. The Yankees pitching staff. I'm like, stop, guys. I'm like, you got the best team in baseball with the best player. They've beaten every series except for one. Sorry, the Dodgers got swept by the Pirates at home. I don't want to hear about it.
Teddy, he was 0 for 12 when that list came out, and he went 0 for 23. They've lost 13 in a row with the 2 best players on the planet. I don't know. Maybe not.
Joseph, as always, thanks, buddy.
Pleasure.
I'll see you next week.
You got it.
Ding.
So that was the Joseph Aguirre. We're only doing one show, by the way, this week because Ted will be away for a bachelor party with one of his best friends. His lifelong friend is getting married, so he will not be around. Maybe Trev will be back. We'll be discussing more later on maybe in the
You're
week
not
or
supposed to
next
spread
week.
the news, bro.
Going to a bachelor party for your best friend's wedding. Shut up. It's a
I'll tell
celebratory.
you, you look sexy in that light blue shirt, bro. You look good. You
Thanks.
look good.
I appreciate it. I gotta shave a little, but I
Yeah,
just
you
got
definitely got to trim it. They're looking a little thick.
Nah, this beard looks good, bro. This
Do you
is
think the
nice.
hair looks better today? You think
No,
looks
it
better?
doesn't. Look, it looks terrible. It looks terrible. Speaking of terrible, other than the name Steph Curry, there's been a lot
There's my
of
freshman
terrible
guy.
play in the NBA Finals right now. Now, I know tonight it's game 3, but Ted, I'm calling this the step-up game. Now, why do I call it the step-up game? Because let's be honest.
You like the dance?
I do like to dance, but other than the number 30, most of the players in this Finals have either been disappointing or too inconsistent. And there is a big problem with that because you have talent all around on these courts between these two teams, and there's too much inconsistency as an NBA fan to be seeing this. And it's kind of disappointing. And maybe is a reason why the ratings, shockingly, have not been very successful in this Finals, which I was very, very surprised to see when I saw that last week. Ted, to you, the step-up game. And I might even have another question to branch off of this, of two specific players, probably the two of the most impactful players on this in this game Finals. But to you, I mean, you could pick a Celtic, you could pick a Warrior, you could pick just one player. It doesn't matter. To you, who needs to step up in this NBA Finals?
Well, I'm glad you called this the step-up game because I wanted to make sure I
It
had that
has to
picture
be a
right.
Miami. Look at these first
That-
two games.
Well,
Go look at
the
Curry.
winner-
Curry's by far been the best player in this Finals. Nobody else has been a close second.
So the ESPN had posted a stat saying the winner of Game 3 Finals, when a series is tied 1-1, not a 2-0,
Mm-hmm.
the winner of Game 3 goes on to win the series 82% of the time, which
pretty
means
good.
it's. I mean, in professional sports, that's as guaranteed as it gets. I mean, 87% is pretty guaranteed, at least in my book. I don't know how other people see it, but that's why the importance of Game 3 tonight is significant. Now, if you ask me a prediction, I think the Celtics will win at home tonight. I think they'll rebound. But me personally, we were talking about this. I had it down to two players. I said, personally for the Celtics, I think it's Tatum. And you're like, well, that's stupid. He's the best player. I'm like,
I never said that.
But no, I'm not saying, but people
Don't accuse me. I don't know who you're accusing.
But you look at Game 2, he had 28 points, but it didn't even seem like he had 28 points. And I wrote this stat down today because I was thinking about Tatum and how I could relate this. But the biggest thing I noticed with the Celtics is their turnovers. When they play efficient basketball and Tatum doesn't turn the ball over, they win. Boston's record when they have less than 15 turnovers in this playoffs this year, they're 13-2. So it's almost a guaranteed win. When they record 15 plus turnovers, they're 0-5. Game 1, they had 12 turnovers. Well, they won the series. Also, they got hot. They scored 40 points in the fourth quarter, and one of the best fourth quarters ever. But in Game 2, they had 19 turnovers. And I wrote this down. What was it? I wrote, I apologize. The Golden State Warriors had 33 points off of those turnovers. Mm-hmm. And the reason why I say that's significant stat is because Tatum right now has been their point guard, has been kind of their leader. They're kind of like everything has been going off him. Even though Marcus Smart is a point guard, everything kind of feeds off of Jason Tatum. And he did not play, how do I say? He played careless, I thought, basketball. Too many mistakes, too many turnovers. You want to listen, James Harden, Kobe Bryant, Giannis, those guys are not point guards, but they control the ball. They take the ball up to the court and they kind of sometimes dominate and everything kind of rolls off them with the pick and roll. So he's got to be much more efficient. He doesn't have to be 30, 40 points. He can have another 28-point game, but he's got to be more efficient. He has way too many turnovers. He was too careless of the ball. For me, he's got to step up and he's got to play better if the Celtics are going to win the series. And, and I also think the Celtics, too, if they're going to win, they got to play much better in the third quarter. The Celtics have been outscored in the third quarter, the first two games, 73-38. So, and we know Golden State always seems to dominate. For me, though, on the other side, it's Klay Thompson. And you're like, well, why Klay? I think if Klay's playing his best basketball, and he did in most of the closeout games in the past two series, that's when they become unbeatable. Because I feel like Curry gets his. Jordan Poole will find a way to get his. I think he's starting to catch a stroke. He might struggle a little bit tonight in Boston, but we'll see. But I don't expect him to be 25, 30 points. I expect him to be anywhere from the 18
he did
to 24.
It in the regular season, so he has the capability to
be absolutely.
a 20 to 25
he could be their best player.
Yeah.
But if you can get the second splash brother to be 85, 90% of what he was before his double injuries, they'll be unbeatable. Because when he's splashing from deep, it's game over.
Yep.
Wave pool, water goes over the thing. The game's over because they have so many multi ways of beating you defensively. Jordan Poole, Draymond's a bit, Kevin Looney, Curry. If Clay's rocking, bro, it's like, who do you guard then? And it makes him so much harder to defend. And we saw it. What was it? Game 7 against Memphis against Dallas.
Game 5 against Dallas, he took care of
Dallas.
business.
Clay
Game 6
Thompson
against,
was the best player, and
yeah.
they blew the two teams out. And look how much better Golden State looked offensively when Clay Thompson, was draining them. Bang, bang,
Yeah,
and how he can get on a roll. So me personally, if Clay Thompson can play what we think Clay was before he had the multiple injuries and start splashing from deep, the party's over. The pool party's over.
Yeah,
you can pull the trophy out and it'll be done in 6.
Yeah, other than Steph and probably Larry Bird or maybe Reggie Miller in all time, there's no guy that when he's on, there's no better player maybe. And I mean, he just doesn't miss.
Those two guys are probably the top 5 shooters of all time.
Clay, yeah, without question. Here's my thing.
Reggie and Bird.
Here's my thing about this is everybody says, yeah, Tatum's been very actually pedestrian. If you look, I mean, his first 2 games, he's averaging 20 points a game, 5.5 rebounds, 8 assists. Not bad. It's not great scoring wise. Shooting, he's shooting 30% from the floor, 15% lower than a season average. So think about that. I mean, this is just the way he's had the turnovers. He struggled the other night with turnovers. But to me, who is more important to their team's success? It's easy.
Well,
it's
more
Klay
important.
Thompson.
You didn't ask me that. Did you?
Well, if you're looking at the question, I put that because we were talking. My thing is, if I had to be honest, it's easy. To me, it's Klay Thompson. And the reason why I say Klay is because Boston is all we've ever talked about with Boston this whole postseason is the depth they have. Like if Tatum has an off game, and we saw it in game 1, he had an awful game shooting, 3 of 17 from the floor, but he still managed to go in another direction and go facilitator. And that's okay. But then there's going to be games like the other night where, yeah, he had 28 points, but he was awful. He had a minus 36 plus minus on the floor, the worst of his career. So this is a guy that even if he has an off game like he did in game 1, they could still win. He doesn't have to, like Ted said, he doesn't have to chuck up 30, 40 shots and have 45 points again. I mean, it's always, as a fan and as being a part of the Boston Celtics, yes, you love to see your superstar player go off and go toe-to-toe with with some of the best in the game like he's been doing this postseason. But to me, I would say Klay because of the fact that, yes, Steph has been doing his thing in the first 2 games, and he's been the runaway finals MVP with TBD. Do not know what's going to happen with the rest of the results of this finals. But with the way we've seen how Klay has, Ted, you said it too, when Klay is on, this team is almost unbeatable, and that's defensively and offensively. And to me, they have too many players that are too inconsistent in the sense of, like, I know it sounds crazy, but I'm trusting that Boston Celtics team, those players like Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, Al Horford, just some of the guys that have been huge for this Boston Celtics team. I don't see the same feeling when I look at Draymond Green. Now, I know what Draymond can do defensively, leadership-wise, and even offensively when he has the ball in his hands, just not shooting. Wiggins is another guy that is like a Jordan Poole, very similar. Can go for 20 to 25 points a game, Ted. But there's also games that he can shoot 5 of like 22 and finish with 12 points. There's too many non-elite, I shouldn't say elite scores, but there's not that go-to scorer after Steph other than Klay Thompson. Well, now, some people might say Jordan Poole. I get it, but we all know
they don't use Wiggins in that facet.
But they should, though. I think they should because he is a talented scorer. He's got length. He can shoot the ball. He's not the greatest offensive option, but he's still a guy that can get you 20 to 25 points a game. And with the way Klay's been playing, Steve Kerr faces a tough challenge of what do you do if Klay Thompson has another off game tonight? Like if he has another bad game, Ted, what do they do?
Well, see, I'll argue this point. I used 2 guys. You said, what team's important? So I said Tatum for the Celtics, Klay for the Warriors. And you said, well, of the 2, you got to choose. You choose Klay. See, I would choose Tatum.
Okay.
Because, see, the Warriors dominated game 2. and they didn't need Clay. And if they didn't fall apart in the fourth quarter,
Celtics dominated
get
game
shoot
one and
7
didn't
for
need Tatum.
9 from 3 in the fourth quarter, and Warriors forget to play defense, they're up 2-0. And Clay didn't do anything. I will tell you this, though. You were talking about before when you were talking about Tatum. Tatum had 13 assists in the first game, right? Didn't play well in the second game, facilitating or scoring. But when he does assist, the victory brought, what was it? He had 13 assists. The victory brought Boston a 17-2 and 895 winning percentage this season when Tatum hands out at least 7 assists, the best record in such games among all players with at least 15 of them. So tonight, what do I need from Tatum? I need 27, 7, and 5. I need 5 rebounds. I need 27 points.
Don't be careless with the ball.
I need at least 7 assists. I need at least 5 rebounds, but I need less turnovers. I need personally 3 or less turnovers. I think he gets the 5 turnovers. The team will probably get somewhere else. They'll have too many turnovers. He's got to be more efficient with the ball because we know both of these teams can score. They both play great defense. That's what makes them phenomenal. They both can score in multifaceted ways, but they can play great defense. And I said before, game 2, all those turnovers, what was it, 19 turnovers I said? Golden State turned them into 33 easy buckets. Points. Yeah. So, listen, we talk about this in football, the big play action, right? And I'm not saying play action play, but big plays. You're not going to be able to sustain 7, 8, 9, 10 plays drives consistently through a game. Once in a while, it's nice to get an easy layup. And I say that in basketball terms, it's nice to get the easy fast break layup for easy buckets because too many times, especially now in the NBA Finals, everything is a struggle to get every point. So be efficient with the ball. If Tatum plays well tonight and does not turn the ball over, Celtics win. Yep. If he is pass happy and starts turning the ball over like Daniel Jones, they will lose this game and Golden State will go up 2-1 and more likely, like I predicted, win in 7.
Now, that's also the thing, just to finish up, I know we're talking about Tatum and Clay and because those two guys, how important they are to their team's success, but this also goes for Jaylen Brown. This goes for Marcus Smart. This goes for Andrew Wiggins, Draymond Green, Jordan Poole. All these guys with the not named last name Curry has been too inconsistent in this finals, and they need to step up. This is game 3. This is a huge, huge game for the Boston Celtics, a huge game for the Golden State Warriors. As I like to call it, yes, it's game 3 of the NBA Finals, but this is the step-up game because there is a boatload of players that need to step up because it just hasn't been panning out so far early on in this finals. Ted, who do you got tonight quickly? And then we'll get over to our
I said it before. I said when we started this part of this section of the show, I said Celtics, I think they'll win, rebound at home. I think the crowd is going to be a major factor.
We're both on this. I got the Celtics winning tonight too. I think they bounce back. I think Tatum has one of his I think Tatum has one of his better games of the postseason, scoring-wise too, efficiently from the floor. And I expect this to be I expect this to be too the most competitive game.
Let me throw one more other thing. I think this is going to be a really good game too. I hope. But we thought this in the Miami series too, and then Miami came in.
We can only hope.
Since March 30th, which we're going on about 3 months right now, the Celtics have not lost back-to-back games. So that's part of
they don't lose after following a loss. So
they haven't lost back-to-back games since March 30th. Nope. So that's my other philosophy of thinking on this, that the Celtics will rebound. Having the multiple days off because, in basketball, they need 5 days off between each game where hockey players can get hit by a puck in the face and they play the next day. But whatever, that's a whole nother story.
That's a whole other story. I just wanted to give you a quick Klay Thompson, his stats so far. 13 points so far, 4 of 19 shooting, 1 from 8 from 3 in game 2, 4 of 15 overall.
Watch, Clay will have a huge game. Curry will have a bad
4 of 15 from 3 overall and 10 of 33 overall from the floor. So Klay Thompson, huge. It needs to be huge tonight for the Golden State Warriors and needs to be huge for them for the rest of the series if they want to win another title. And Jason Tatum needs to do the same. Let's just finish off with this. We're starting to get back into the boys of fall because, as you know, it is June 8th. Mandatory OTAs are happening. Training camps are going to be happening. It's go time, ladies and gentlemen. We're under 100 days, and there's a huge debate going on in this NFL world because of the quarterbacks. And we know how much we love those great quarterbacks. Well, there's some teams right now that have good problems, and it's the sense of the paying. And why do I say good problem when you got to pay guys almost $300 million? With the way these contracts are, you're going to be seeing $300 million contracts at quarterback. Well, because if you have a franchise quarterback, you have already got the top check mark off and building a franchise and building a contender. And there's some teams like the Los Angeles Chargers, the Baltimore Ravens, the Arizona Cardinals, and the Cincinnati Bengals who have 4 guys that look to be the part, look to be the franchise guy, look to be a Super Bowl winning quarterback. So, Ted, these teams, specifically, I know we're going to wait. The Herbert and Burrow thing, that's going to happen eventually. But Lamar and Kyler are just a whole different animal because these are 2 guys that, well, let's be honest, they're game changers. Not just because of their arms, it's because of their legs and what they can do offensively. Do you wait to pay these guys, or do you continue, or like do you pay them? Do you pay them, or do you hold off and trying to hope that, well, the money ain't getting any cheaper, dude?
So let's have the conversation we had yesterday on the telephone when we were just kind of BSing, because that's what this should be right now. You got to pay them because there is very few elite quarterbacks. And when I say elite, I mean like real starting quarterbacks that give you a realistic opportunity to make the Super Bowl. Like if I can reference this to the Giants, because we are Giant fans and we'll talk about this. You either have a quarterback for your future or you have no one.
Yeah.
And you're just like pedaling along, staying afloat in the water until you drown or find that boat that comes by and picks you up.
Yeah. The
Giants have been drifting out to sea on a life raft and could drown. All right. That's what Daniel Jones has been for the. It's like, oh, we're catching this. Nope. We're still drifting. Couldn't catch it. I look at the Ravens in Arizona. They both are deserving to be paid. The longer you wait to pay your quarterback, the more you're going to have to pay. Now, what I've read on reports and Twitter is the Ravens want to do business with Lamar. The question is, does Lamar want to do business with them? Does he want to sit this year and test free agency, but risk injury? You know, where is his philosophy? Is he waiting for Kyler Murray to get paid in his back? Like, hey, listen, I want to wait for Trev to get paid and see what he gets paid. And if Trev gets paid 100, I'm on one-on-one. You know what I mean? Like, because we know how this market goes with wide receivers, defensive players.
Yeah, with every position, it's like that. Yeah.
Who was it like when a couple years ago, Stephon Gilmore or Jalen was like,
well, we just saw with the receiver. Look at the receivers this year.
But they wanted to get paid like $1 more. Like, didn't matter.
Course.
Just wanted, and you want that thing to be the highest.
Just want to have that title as highest paid player
until like next week or the year later.
Exactly.
But here's the only problem we see when you do this. All right, you have a certain amount of time. We've seen this with the Chiefs. We saw this with the Seahawks. We've seen this with some of the other teams. Is when you draft a rookie quarterback and you hit on it, right? Let's go back to. I wish I could go back to Sean's in trouble, and he probably won't play the season. But if you go back to that draft class, right? The Bears traded up one spot to go get Mitchell Trubisky. And then there was a bunch of teams that did not take Patrick Mahomes or Deshaun Watson. Now, I'm taking Deshaun Watson's nonsense out of the equation, just as the football player itself. All those teams that passed on him are all still drafted mostly in the top 10 because they did not hit on a quarterback. And that's why the Bears still have no quarterback, and now they have Justin Fields. We'll see how that pans out.
Don't hate on my boy Jay
But
Fields.
here's the thing. You draft a young quarterback like the Seahawks did with Russell Wilson. You get a 4-year window to maximize your opportunity.
Of course.
You can go get guys like the Chiefs did. Go pay Tyrann Mathieu. Go get Frank Clark. Go pay this guy. Go pay this guy because you still got the quarterback under the rookie deal. Yep. Once you do pay them, like we saw with Joe Flacco, like we saw with Russell Wilson, like we're going to see next year when Mahomes' salary, not this year, but the following year,
goes into play
drastically.
Yep.
That's when teams' budgets have to drastically have to change. If we've noticed anything, go back to the last 10 Super Bowls. I think it's since 2011. I had the stat in front of me. But no quarterback has made the Super Bowl when they occur more than 15% of the salary cap. So what does that mean? You pay your quarterback. You can't pay your backup your left tackle or your right tackle. You can't pay your extra linebacker. You can't pay your second cornerback. I don't know how the Rams do it. They must have the banks from Sweden.
I can't even.
I don't know how they pay Donald and Ramsey, but maybe what's that said is you hit on draft picks.
Because as you said, F the draft picks. F draft picks and just pay everybody because it's LA, it's Hollywood, and it's worked out for them.
My thing is this: pay them now. Like if I'm the Bengals and the Chargers, now it's in the salary cap structure. You have to wait at least 3 years. But I would pay Herbert and Burrow now. They're not going. You're not. First of all, we all know they're not going in. Pay them now because if you wait till after Kyle Lamar, and the problem is Deshaun's and Brown's contract. ruins
really
everything.
changed
But
the whole
wait,
game.
the longer you wait,
Yep.
the more you're going to pay in the long run. Because if the Cardinals don't want to pay him, then tell me who the Cardinals quarterback is going to be. You're going to go get Nick Foles next year? Daniel Jones going to be your new starting quarterback when the Giants release? Like, tell me who you're going to get.
I know that these guys, Kyler Murray, Lamar, they look like they're going to get paid. I mean, if it's by the Cardinals or Baltimore, you would assume, but that's still, we don't know. I just want to say this is what these quarterbacks are making for next year. These guys this year, actually, Herbert's making $6 million a year, 27th overall. Burrow's $9 million, 19th, followed by Kyler, 20th, and Lamar is making a cool $2 million this year, 47th overall.
$2
million average.
That's wild because
that's how much he's getting paid average per year. He's ranked 47. There's guys. Let's see. Hold on. Let's see if I can find. Oh yeah, there's guys like Taylor Heineke, Kyle Allen, C.J. Beathard, Mike White. Oh yeah, a bunch of solid starters in this league that are getting paid more money than Lamar Jackson. My thing also about this, and I wanted to finish up with is I much rather be the Arizona Cardinals, the Los Angeles Chargers, the Cincinnati Bengals, and the Baltimore Ravens more than I would ever want to be the New York Giants, the Miami Dolphins, the Carolina Panthers,
the
Philadelphia Eagles, and did I say the Cleveland Browns? I don't know if I.
Well, you did.
And Cleveland Browns. Why am I saying those franchises? It's very simple. Because all those 5 franchises have one thing in common: uncertainty. They're all uncertain about their quarterback situation. I said the Browns. The Browns are for a different reason. But before Deshaun Watson, the Browns were in that situation of, do we pay Baker Mayfield? And look how the Browns, as my boy Pete says, the Browns will Browns. It's pretty. And that's the thing also. Miami, what are they going to do with Tua? If he has a good year, are you willing to pay him big bucks? I know. Daniel Jones is another thing. Jalen Hurts. I'd much rather be those 4 franchises, like I said, with Herbert, Burrow, Lamar, and Kyler, then I'd much rather be those franchises with quarterbacks. Yes, they have a quarterback right now, but do they have their guy moving forward? Those are questions that will need to be answered this season. But for those 4 other franchises, those answers have already been answered and set. They just need to put the pen to the paper. You got your guy for a long time.
And Chef, and the only thing that these 2 guys do risk, though, is, and I'm going to give you the perfect example, is you got 2 scenarios. You got the Kirk Cousins scenario where you get franchise tag 2-3 years in a row.
Dak. Yeah.
Or you get the Dak situation where, okay, that's the thing I think Lamar and Kyle will worry about. But here's the thing. Dak got hurt and then got paid the highest contract for any quarterback. Mm-hmm. So Dallas still paid him. All right. But you still take that risk. And there's always a risk. And, listen, God willing, hopefully none of these guys get hurt that situation ever occurs. Even for Dak. All right. But then you look at the Kirk Cousins deal, is you get franchised, and no one wants to be franchised because it's only a guarantee for that year. But you know what? If you can stay pretty healthy, you know who's made the most money in football the last 3 seasons? It's Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins has made the most money in football in the last 3 or 4 seasons.
This decade's version of Sam Bradford.
He has learned how to use the system. Now, of course, he's
manipulating the system as best as he can.
He's not getting hurt, but think about it. He's had the multiple franchise tag, and then he's gotten the guaranteed contract from Minnesota. They're not big deals, but they're guaranteed.
And all that to win nothing. Good for him. He's done a hell of a job. Look, he's done a hell of a job, just like Sam Bradford has. Those guys have done a hell of a job of really.
But here's my thing. If I'm Minnesota,
manipulating the system, but I know what they tried to do.
I know you and me are not big fans of Kirk Cousins because he's a 500 quarterback. But tell me someone right now that's on the market that's better than Kirk Cousins. Like that, right you now? Either have a guy that's somewhat like that. Because here's the thing: the Saints, I think, are right on that brim, Trev. With the
closest to me would be probably just Jimmy G or Baker, and that's
and I would say the Saints with Jameis, because I think that team is still Super Bowl caliber, but I don't think anyone has trust in Jameis Winston. Where I think that was why there was speculation who would go there? Would they trade for a quarterback? And just like you brought up the Panthers, Sam Darnold, you either got the guy or you don't got the guy. And right now, if you got the guy, pay him early and worry about it down the road, then pay late and have to pay more.
Yeah, 100% agree. I'd much rather be those four franchises than teams like us, our New York Giants, and other teams that
Be the
have that
Bills,
have
be the
that
Chiefs.
uncertainty around the franchise of, yeah, you might say one thing, but saying is just one thing. If you could do it, words speak or actions speak louder than words. I know the words have been said that we have faith in them. Well, I guess we'll see. But I'd much rather be these four franchises. I know that the big bucks are coming for these four guys, but they're all deserving of it, and the franchises better figure it out because you do have four franchise quarterbacks. You just don't want to let it slip away. Trust me. But ladies and gentlemen, we are Keys of the City. We are signing off. Everybody have a wonderful weekend. We will be back next week. We are out.
You are now in tune to the Keys to the City podcast.